What is going on, everybody? My name is Ryan, and today we're going to be talking about the Black Magic BZRK pre-workout. Now, I'm well aware that there's quite a few reviews of this pre-workout on YouTube, and that's not what I'm here to do. So today I want to specifically cover the reformulation that this pre-workout underwent. So for those of you that may or may not know, BZRK was reformulated, and there's not really a whole lot of publicity about it. That's why I wanted to make this video comparing the labels, going through all the ingredients, explaining what they do, and then I want to share with you guys my personal thoughts and experiences having used both the old and the new formulations of this pre-workout. So before we dive in, I want to talk about the company a little bit. Black Magic Supply is relatively new. They launched in late 2018, and the BZRK pre-workout was kind of like their flagship product. They do, however, have a whole line of supplements. They have protein, EAAs, fat burner, and a lot of other things. So I'll put a link to them in the description below so you can check them out and maybe purchase the BZRK pre-workout or something else. Also, a quick note before we start, I am not sponsored. I have no affiliation with Black Magic Supply or any other supplement company for that matter. I'm just here to deliver my unbiased opinions to you guys. Alright, so now it's time to get into the label, or the labels, and this is what you all came here for, really. So upon a quick glance, we can see that there's really not that much different between these two labels, but nonetheless, I'm going to go through everything and explain it. So as you can see, one scoop is 21 grams, and each container is approximately 25 scoops. That has not changed. So first up, we have the Supernatural Matrix, which is their fancy term for a muscle pump and power output blend. So you can actually see that on the old and the new formula, the Supernatural Matrix hasn't changed at all. Everything is exactly the same between the old and the new formula, which is good. And I'm still just going to go through everything once so you guys can get an idea of what to expect from this. So first up, we have citrulline malate 2:1, 7 grams. This is going to help with nitric oxide production and essentially muscle pumps. So 7 grams is a good dose, that's right on. So next up, we have beta O, which is beta alanine bonded to orotic acid, 3.2 grams. 3.2 grams is the clinical dose of beta alanine, so we can't really ask for much more here. But an interesting thing to note about the beta O version is that I experienced slightly less tingles than I did with taking the carnosine version of the beta alanine, which is common in most pre-workouts. So that's just a quick little side note there that I noticed. Next up, we have Glycer Pump, which is another ingredient that's going to help with muscle pumps and cell voluminization. We have that at 2.5 grams, which is a good dose. Just a side note here, products with glycerol or Glycer Pump tend to have a little bit of a clumping effect on the powder, but I wanted to say that this BZRK pre-workout tub that I've had here for about 2 or 3 months now has almost no clumping at all. The powder is still very fine and can move freely, and while this doesn't affect the performance of the active ingredients, it's nice when your expensive pre-workout doesn't clump up. And last but not least on the list, we have betaine anhydrous coming in at 2.5 grams. Again, good dose, that's going to help with muscle power output. So as you can see, we have a pretty good list of pump and performance ingredients here, but now we're going to move on to the semi-proprietary part of the label, which is the part that you all came here for, really, the possessed matrix. So this is semi-proprietary, meaning that we don't know exactly how much of these ingredients are present, but we can make an educated guess. So first up on the list, we have tyrosine, which is going to help a little bit with focus. Then we have caffeine anhydrous. I'm sure you guys are all familiar with caffeine. They actually do tell us that there's 350 milligrams of caffeine per scoop, so that's about 3.5 cups of coffee for reference. Now next up is the big difference. So on the old label, you can see we have 2-amino isoheptane, which is DMHA. So for those of you that don't know, DMHA is kind of like the little brother of DMAA, and it is a really powerful central nervous system stimulant. It's definitely on the edgy side of things, and that's why it's been removed from the formula. Black Magic Supply, since they've grown in size, they've been under pressure from the FDA to remove DMHA from their pre-workout because it's a really powerful stimulant, and it's going to help obviously with mood elevation and focus and just have a really strong stimulant effect. Now with that, you get the side effects that you would expect from a powerful stim, a rise in heart rate, blood pressure, and sometimes shortness of breath. As you can see in the new formula, it's been replaced with N-isopropyl norepinephrine. So what is this? That's a whole bunch of words right there. So this is chemically similar to the stimulant synephrine, which is present in a lot of fat burners and some other pre-workouts. Obviously, it's going to have a stimulant effect, and it's actually really good with lipolysis and fat loss, which is why you see it in a lot of fat burners. So obviously it will have a little bit of a stimulant effect. It's going to help with energy production, and we're probably going to start to see this in more pre-workouts now that DMHA is getting kind of cracked down on by the FDA. So besides these two ingredients right here, 2-amino-isoheptane DMHA replaced with a synephrine-like compound, the rest of the labels are exactly the same, but I'm going to take you through them nonetheless. So next up we have kola nut extract, which is going to help with energy production. We have NMT, which is going to enhance motivation, kind of give you that sense of urgency and help with focus a little bit. We have higenamine, which is another stimulant. And then we have neurofactor, which is a patented ingredient that comes from the coffee bean, and it's a nootropic that's going to increase cognitive function. Alright, so we've talked about all the technical stuff, we've talked about the label, we talked about DMHA and the synephrine-like compound that this pre-workout now has in it instead of DMHA. And now it's time to share my personal experiences with you guys. So real quick, before we dive into the effects, I want to talk about the taste and mixability, which may be important for some people. The tub that I had with the original formula was the crystal blue flavor, and with the reformulated one, I'm actually using the mango sunrise flavor. So the crystal blue. So with the original formula, the crystal blue flavor mixed perfectly. There was no settling, no sediments in the bottom of my shaker cup, and the crystal blue flavor was a really amazing flavor. It was kind of like a blue raz, but not as sweet, and I really enjoyed drinking that pre-workout. So for the mango sunrise flavor, we have a lot of the same here. The flavor is really good. Not that I care too much about the flavor of the pre-workout, that's not why I'm drinking it, but the mango sunrise flavor is really truly amazing if that's something that you care about. It's got a nice tropical feeling to it, but I did notice something different. So when I mix the mango sunrise flavor with the new formula, I do notice a little bit of a chalkier texture, and there is a little bit of settling in the bottom of my shaker cup. I'm not sure if this is specific to the mango sunrise flavor or if it's because of the reformulation. So if you guys have any experience with that, let me know down in the comments if you've tried both versions. But the flavor is still really good. I still have a really easy time getting it down. So if flavor and texture is something you're concerned about, I wouldn't worry about it with this pre-workout. Alright, so now it's time for the important part, the effects. So first I'm going to start with the supernatural matrix, which is actually the same between both formulas. So the pumps that this pre-workout delivers are nothing short of amazing. The combination of citrulline malate and the glycer pump delivers really great blood flow, and the pumps were just really good. I don't have much else to say about that. So while we do have beta-alanine here in the form of beta-O, you will not experience the tingling sensation as much as you're used to. I did feel it a little bit in my ears kind of, and a little bit on my face, but not nearly to the extent that I did when I took a pre-workout with regular beta-alanine. And like I said, this matrix is the same between both pre-workouts, so regardless of which formulation you're using, you're going to have a really good time with pumps and muscle power output. Okay, so now on to the stimulant effect, the primary reason that people take pre-workout. So the original BZRK was a pretty fast hitter. Within about 10 to 15 minutes of taking it, I would start to feel the kick of energy. So that 350 milligrams of caffeine anhydrous gives you a really good boost, gets you moving, and it definitely gives you a little bit of that sense of urgency to start working out. So that lasts for a little while, and then the DMHA really starts to kick in later, and eventually once I'm like 1 or 2 exercises into the workout, I really get that tunnel vision, just in the zone, insane focus. And that's kind of what DMHA is known for. It kind of gives you that really extreme focus, that in the zone feeling, and this pre-workout delivered nothing less. Every time I took the original BZRK, it never failed to really just get me in the zone, if you know what I'm talking about. The focus was like no other. I always had that tunnel vision effect, and I was very focused throughout the entirety of my workouts. With that being said, that effect would still last after I left the gym, but then I would actually experience a pretty bad crash. Obviously, everyone responds differently to stimulants, but the original BZRK actually left me feeling not bad, but I would just feel fatigued and kind of tired about a half hour to an hour after my workouts. Now, obviously, this would pass like any other stimulant crash, but I just felt like that was something important that should be noted. Now, we're going to move on to the reformulated version without the DMHA. And I know it's only one ingredient that got changed, but it was a pretty big ingredient. So the new BZRK, that's what I'm going to refer to it as, the new BZRK, or the new formulation, still delivers that really insane kick of energy. That 350 milligrams of caffeine is still going to get you moving. We still got the same muscle pump and power output complex, and it still gives you that sense of urgency that you kind of have to do something. But I will have to say that the focus is diminished. So unfortunately, the level of focus that the new BZRK gives just isn't really on the same level as the old one with DMHA. Now, that's not to say that this is a bad pre-workout. This still will get you in the zone and get you moving, but that insane tunnel vision that you really got with the original BZRK isn't really there anymore, unfortunately. Now, another thing to note, and actually a positive about this version of the pre-workout, is that I experienced little to no crash. I found that the energy kick from this one lasts much longer after my workout, and I really don't find myself crashing like I did with the DMHA version. So that could be a plus for somebody if you work out in the morning and then go to work after, or if you have work to do after your workout and you still want to have that energy kind of going. I haven't crashed off of this pre-workout, but like I said, everyone reacts differently to stims, so the really only way to find out is to try it yourself. So, my conclusion, we've gone over the label, I've shared my personal experiences. Now it's time to decide who is this pre-workout for. So, if you're a fan of the original BZRK, and you really like that tunnel vision focus and that DMHA effect, I'm going to suggest that you look elsewhere other than the reformulated version of BZRK. So while the FDA is cracking down, there are still a lot of DMHA pre-workouts on the market that deliver similar effects to the original BZRK. A couple of my personal picks, if you're looking for an alternative, something similar to the original BZRK, would be the Precision Research MVPRE. They actually just released version 2 of this pre-workout. This is version 1 that I have right here. But this has 150 milligrams of DMHA, 350 milligrams of caffeine, just like BZRK, and a very similar pump and muscle power output complex. We also have Alpha Lion Superhuman, which has 100 milligrams of DMHA, 350 milligrams of caffeine, and a pretty similar pump and power output complex. With that being said, if you maybe tried the original BZRK and it was a little bit too much for you, or you're not quite in that stim junkie territory yet, the reformulated BZRK is still a really good option. It's still a pretty high stim pre-workout, but maybe you don't like DMHA, maybe you don't react well to it, and you're just looking for a higher stim pre-workout that doesn't really have anything too edgy in it. The reformulated version of BZRK is a really solid pre-workout still. Like I said, it tastes amazing, and you're going to get amazing pumps and muscle power output from it. So I hope this really answers some questions that you guys may have about the reformulation of BZRK, and if you have any additional questions, leave them in the comments below. I will get back to you. If you want to see reviews on any of the other pre-workouts that I mentioned, maybe like the MVPRE or the Superhuman, please let me know. I will try my best to make it happen. And for now, leave a rating if this helped, and consider subscribing for more content like this. Thank you for watching.